Did you see this three-team trade proposal? Bleacher Report's Christopher Knox put this out last week, and here's what he has the Browns doing this summer. So first of all, a three-team trade proposal. This isn't the NBA, dude, but he's got it involving the Browns, the Cardinals, and the Patriots. And he's got the Browns sending quarterback Shedeur Sanders and a 2027 fourth-round pick to the Arizona Cardinals. And what do we get back in return? Oh, we get quarterback Jacoby Brissett.
Somewhere in a quiet training facility in Berea, Ohio, a storm is building. You can't see it yet. There's no thunder, no lightning, just the sound of cleats hitting turf and the quiet, deliberate breathing of a young quarterback who knows that everything, his career, his legacy, his future in the NFL, could hinge on the next few weeks. His name is Shedeur Sanders. And right now, in the dog days of the NFL offseason, where most storylines are manufactured out of boredom and speculation, one question refuses to die. Could the Cleveland Browns actually trade him before training camp even ends? Let that sink in for a moment. A feisty quarterback, drafted with hope, with pressure, with the weight of a famous last name trailing behind him like a shadow, and already the whispers are starting. Not about whether he'll start, not about whether he'll succeed, but about whether he'll even still be wearing a Browns uniform by the time the leaves change color. To understand how it got here, you have to understand the battlefield Shedeur Sanders is standing on. This isn't a normal quarterback competition. This is a war for a throne that nobody agreed to give up easily. On one side, you have Deshaun Watson, a veteran with a resume, with playoff scars, with a contract that ties him to Cleveland in ways that make him almost impossible to simply walk away from. On the other side, you have Sanders, unproven at this level, but carrying something Watson doesn't have anymore: intrigue. Upside, the tantalizing unknown of what he could become. And in the middle of it all sits a franchise that has learned the hard way that no player, no matter how big the contract, how heavy the investment, how loud the fan base's expectations, is untouchable. That lesson didn't come from a rumor. It came from a stunning, jaw-dropping reality. Earlier this summer, the Browns did something that sent shockwaves through the league. They traded Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett, a generational pass rusher, a homegrown superstar, a face of the franchise for years. If Cleveland was willing to move a player like that, a foundational piece, a fan favorite, a bona fide superstar in his prime, then what exactly is off the table? That's the question haunting every conversation about Shedeur Sanders right now. Because if the Browns can trade Myles Garrett, they can trade anyone. And suddenly, a storyline that would have sounded absurd in April doesn't sound so absurd in July. Now, let's be clear about something, because the truth matters here just as much as the drama. The Cleveland Browns are not actively shopping Shedeur Sanders. Nobody inside that building is picking up the phone right now trying to find him a new home. This isn't a fire sale. This isn't a done deal waiting to be announced. Right now, in this exact moment, it's speculation. It's the kind of storyline that thrives in the emptiness of the NFL calendar, when there are no games to analyze, no injuries to report, and beat writers and fans alike are left staring into the void, searching for anything resembling drama. But here's what makes this different from a normal off-season rumor. It's not baseless. It's not manufactured out of thin air. There's a real, tangible path, a sequence of dominoes, that could turn idle chatter into a stunning reality by the time training camp wraps up. Picture it. Camp opens. The battle for QB1 begins in earnest. Every rep, every throw, every decision under pressure is being logged, graded, whispered about behind closed doors. And Shedeur Sanders, the guy some doubted, the guy some said wasn't ready, starts to look different. Sharper, more confident, more in command of the huddle than anyone expected this early. And then, the unthinkable happens. Deshaun Watson holds the job. The coaching staff, citing experience, citing the contract, citing the need for stability, names Watson their starter. Sanders, the impressive one, the one turning heads all summer, is left holding a clipboard. Now think about what that means across the rest of the league. Because right now, there are franchises out there, quarterback-needy franchises, desperate franchises, staring at their own depth charts and seeing nothing but question marks. Teams that missed out on this year's draft class. Teams whose starters are aging, injured, or simply not good enough. Teams that would give up significant draft capital for even a chance at unlocking a talented young arm sitting on someone else's bench. If Sanders impresses in camp but loses the job anyway, he instantly becomes one of the most valuable trade chips in football. Not because he's a proven starter, but because he's cheap, he's young, and he's shown exactly enough to make a desperate team believe he could be their answer. And that's when the phone calls start. Quietly at first, a front office executive testing the waters, an agent dropping hints, a report that a team checked in on Sanders' availability. Every domino before it. The Garrett trade proving nobody is safe, the crowded quarterback room, a strong camp performance that goes unrewarded would suddenly line up perfectly to make this rumor real. Imagine the tension building week by week. Every practice report scrutinized. Every quote from the coaching staff picked apart for hidden meaning. Is this praise a hint he's about to lose the job? Is this vague answer about the quarterback competition secretly code for a front office already fielding offers? The kind of speculation that used to feel absurd now feels like it's creeping closer to plausible with every passing day of camp. And that's the brutal, unforgiving nature of the NFL. Talent alone doesn't guarantee security. Potential alone doesn't guarantee a starting job. Sometimes, being good isn't enough if the timing, the depth chart, and the front office's priorities don't align in your favor. Shedeur Sanders could walk into training camp, do everything right, outplay expectations, win over skeptics, and still end up watching from another team's sideline by September. So where does that leave us right now, in this suspended, uncertain moment before pads even start popping in camp? It leaves us with a storyline simmering just beneath the surface. Not confirmed, not official, but not impossible either. The Browns aren't making calls today, but nobody in Cleveland is under any illusion that any player is truly safe anymore. Not after Myles Garrett. Not with a quarterback competition this loaded. Not in a league where value is measured in inches, and a single strong training camp can rewrite a player's entire future in a matter of weeks. Think about the sheer weight of what's actually at stake here. This isn't just about one quarterback battle in one city. It's about how fragile the illusion of security really is in professional football. Fans love to believe that a draft pick, especially one that came with this much noise, this much attention, is guaranteed a certain kind of loyalty from his franchise. But loyalty in the NFL rarely survives contact with opportunity. If a rival team dangles enough draft capital in front of a front office that's already proven willing to move on from a homegrown superstar, loyalty becomes a luxury nobody can afford. Consider the alternate version of this story too, because suspense cuts both ways. What if Sanders doesn't just impress in camp? What if he wins the job outright? What if all this speculation about trades evaporates the moment he takes his first snap as Cleveland's starting quarterback in Week 1? That outcome is just as possible as the trade scenario, maybe even more likely. But that's the nature of sports storytelling in July. Nothing is decided yet, and that emptiness, that unresolved tension, is exactly what keeps fans refreshing their phones for any tiny scrap of new information. A beat reporter's tweet about a crisp deep ball in 11-on-11 drills. A coach's non-committal answer in a press conference. Each piece, harmless on its own, gets stitched into a bigger, more dramatic narrative, because that's what an information vacuum does. Shedeur Sanders' story in Cleveland is far from finished. But how it ends, whether he becomes the Browns' quarterback of the future or becomes their most fascinating trade chip, is a mystery that training camp is about to start answering, one rep at a time. And whichever way it breaks, one thing is certain. Nobody will be able to say they didn't see it coming.